Talking about one company then, we have Mr. Adi Godrej, the chairman of Godrej Group, who's joining in to talk about Godrej Consumer. Hi, Mr. Godrej. Thank you very much for taking the time out. Now, there are reports, obviously preliminary and not finalized, which suggest that post the GST implementation, the indirect taxation could fall to 17 to 18% versus 24 to 25%, and that's going to be beneficial for a lot of consumer-related companies. How would that benefit Godrej Consumer?
No, I think if the rates announced by the economic advisor are the final rates that are adopted by the government, certainly it will help. Total taxation should come down. That should allow us to reduce certain prices. It should allow us to increase promotion, distribution, etc. So that could lead to better growth in demand.
Mr. Godrej, hi, good morning. But, I just wanted your overall take on what's going on in Parliament and even with regard to GST. You think 1.5 years of a new government, is there a bit of a disappointment in India Inc. regarding the pace of governance reforms, or, even some may want to use the term, renewed policy paralysis? Your comments on that?
Well, there is still a logjam in Parliament. Until yesterday, it looked like the chances of GST getting through in this session might be good, but then with the problem announced in the court case regarding Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi, I think, again, things have taken a turn for the worse. So we have to wait and see. GST is a tremendous reform. It will add tremendously to growth in this country. It will be very good for the consumers of this country. So I do hope better advice prevails and it goes through Parliament.
Okay, winter sessions expected to end on 23rd December, so we'll have to get you more updates with regards to that through the course of December. But Mr. Godrej, coming back to the business then, only around 10 to 15% of your total sales does come from the rural portfolio. But can you just share with us what the trends have been in terms of rural consumption versus urban in the past couple of weeks, including the festive period?
No, about 30% of our sales in India are from rural India, not 10 or 15. Rural growth was much better earlier than urban growth. Now they are at about the same levels, and the growth rates overall have fallen a little. One of the major reasons being, as prices are well under control because of input costs coming down, the entire sales growth now has to be from volume growth. There is no additional sales growth from inflationary impact. So total overall sales growth are a little lower than in the past.
Okay, Mr. Godrej, that point is taken, but you've got some kind of tailwind continuing with the kind of drop that we have seen in crude prices. How much further do you think you'll be able to improve margins because of that? Because, of course, there's competition as well, so there's some part of it which has to be passed on. But ballpark number, if you could tell us in terms of the margin improvement that we could see from Godrej?
Well, commodity prices continue to be weak, especially as you rightly mentioned, crude prices. Also, vegetable oil prices are an important input in our case and in case of some other FMCG companies. Those are also well under control. So commodity costs will be lower, input costs will be lower. That should help margins. Already, as you might have noticed, in the last couple of quarters, our bottom line growth rates were much higher than our top line growth rates. And I think that situation will continue well into the future.
Okay. Just wanted some numbers from you then, Mr. Godrej. Do you think that your volume growth in Q3 might be better, same, or maybe lesser than what you've clocked in Q2 in the domestic markets? It was around 9% with a double-digit growth in hair colors.
It's difficult to tell. The quarter is not yet over, and we don't make forward predictions, but I think the growth should be similar by and large.
Okay. Mr. Godrej, I know you don't actively look at Godrej properties anymore, but this was a big transaction that took place regarding your Vikhroli project and the kind of response that you got. A word on the kind of market that we are seeing in Mumbai in terms of real estate and your future plans.
Well, just to correct you, I do actively look into Godrej Properties, not as managing director, but I am the chairman of the board. We have done well in our new project, The Trees in Vikhroli, where we had record residential booking. It's a very well situated project. Now with the new road connections, especially the Eastern Freeway, it is very accessible. Vikhroli has become much more accessible in the past. And most importantly, because of the mangrove forests we have in our campus, the quality of the air in Vikhroli is much better than the average in Mumbai as a whole. So all this is helping us do extremely well in the booking of residential property there.
Okay, so what's the plan now for your land bank, existing land bank? You have quite a bit of that in Vikhroli and the areas around that. How many more phases will we see of development at that land?
Several. We have several projects in mind. Aside from the trees, we have other projects too. So they'll be gradually released as more phases are opened up.
Okay, fair enough, Mr. Godrej. We're going to let you go on that note. Thank you very much for joining in and speaking to us on a whole host of issues.
Thank you.
Time for a break now, but up next we're going to get chatting a little bit on the festive season. Anjan Chatterjee of Specialty Restaurants, the